everybody, this is Angela Savage, the daughter of IndyCar driver Swede Savage. It's time to watch stories from motorsports. My buddy, Doug Kenny, loves to share the journey of people in racing, and he is an amazing dude. Drivers, owners, fans, and team members, watch the SFM podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Doug Kenny from Stories from Motorsports. I'd like to thank my buddy Josh Mabe for the YouTube work he did years ago that inspired me to create this platform. I'd like to thank my buddy Victor Sifton for convincing me to get back into it after my hiatus from 2017 to 2019. I have a very special treat for you all today with an amazing journey from an amazing racing figure. Drivers, start your engines. Brands of automobiles ever I've seen.
It's a remarkable run that they've had, and I guarantee you there's nobody. There's Doug Feehan, program manager, myself, Ron, who were the part of the early crew there in terms of drivers, but anyone in the Pratt Miller organization, if someone would have told you that, what are they in? So we actually technically we started in 97. We first started racing in 99.
Whoa.
Okay, so we're way north of 25 years into this deal. If someone would have told you in 1999 or 2000 that this thing's going to be going strong in 2025, they'd probably thump you on the head and tell you to get some sense, because that is crazy. It's good.
That's amazing. Since you're a race driver, did you witness tragic events during your career, or have glimpses of them, or no?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was, like stuff that you'd probably like to not just unsee, but you'd just like for people's lives to not end that way. But yeah, I was in races where there were fatalities, driver fatalities, and certainly many that where drivers were horribly injured, and the difference, Doug, is the sport's a lot different now than it was in the 1970s. Forget the 50s and 60s, that's like a whole nother level of stuff. And even the early 1970s was next level. Like, it was crazy. But even, so I can only speak to what I did. So I started racing in the late 70s, but, got to the big time in the early 80s. But it was accepted. It was accepted that if you could, like in an Indy car or any type of fast race car, really, mm-hmm. It was accepted that if you crashed, particularly, at speed, mm-hmm. if you crashed, you were going to be hurt. It was like a given. Like, you didn't crash and not get hurt, or you just got real lucky. Mm-hmm. But it was one or the other, because there was no expectation of crashing without injury. So if you were a driver, that was literally what you signed up for. Point being, so if you go back to any of those sort of like 70s, 80s, and you look at the IndyCar, you look at the list of drivers on the entry list from the first race, and compare it to the last race. There's going to be a few names that aren't there anymore. And so why aren't they there? Well, they're there because they were either killed or they were badly hurt and they weren't able to participate. They were, hopefully recovering, right? But they were out. Yeah. So there was saying that there was a mortality rate was not a crazy thing. It was a real, it was something you could actually count. Thankfully the numbers were relatively low, but any number was too high, keep in mind, right? But that's not the point. The point is, you asked if I saw it. You saw it because it happened a lot, if not like all the time. Like at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it would almost be unusual, you know, if there was a crash on a day that, you know, like someone was going to the hospital. Whereas now, like these guys crash cars, they bounce out of them and they're, you know, they don't even need the ambulance to get back. They can jog back to the infield and hop in their spare car. You know, it's a completely different animal. But to sort of wind that topic up, you know, going from those days, the one that is look, I'm not going to say one was sadder than the other, because anytime someone loses their life, it's equally tragic. But he was a very close friend, but it was Jim Fitzgerald, who was a very close friend of Paul Newman, and it was in the, that would have been like 1987, St. Pete, and, you know, turn 1-2 at St. Pete, and I remember the first time I passed the incident, he was behind me on the track, so I saw it when I came around, but we were already under full course yellow when I came by, and I knew instantly. I mean, like he didn't make it. You could just tell the way he was, you know, slumped in the car. I'm like, oh my guy's done. You just had that feeling, and but that was one that was just so sad, because just such a good guy, you know, like one of the nicest dudes like ever of all time, and you know, most thankfully is even though that was so many years ago. And he's so fondly remembered, even to this day. You know, you see things in social media, and you know, anytime a picture pops up, you know, with Fitzy, you know, the comments and you know, people remembering stories and everything, even from, you know, gosh, going back to the 1970s, you know, because he wasn't a young man by any stretch, but you know, it's just to see how fondly he's remembered even to this day is something that's really special. And it doesn't, I mean, what does it mean? I don't know what it means, but you know, it's at least, it's cool that you know, that we can appreciate, you know, those that were special to us.
Yeah. The closest that I came to witnessing tragedy in a race was when I almost went to the championship race in Las Vegas in 2011, and that was the race that Dan Weldon had died in.
Yep.
I only didn't attend that race because I had a personal home issue. Otherwise, I would have gone there, and it turned into a disaster.
You picked a good one to skip.
Yeah.
That was well, I mean, okay, enough said, right? That was another one that you knew instantly.
Yeah,
there wasn't any question about what happened there. That was pretty awful.
It was really awful, and I actually had a friend that was working security for that race, and so if I went, I would have gone with him.
Right.
I saw the crash on television and knew it was going to be a red flag, so I went up to make some ramen, and then 10 minutes later, I got word from him what the outcome was.
Yeah. That was, that's crazy that was 2011. That's like, gosh, time flies, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Then 10 years later, I finally attended an IndyCar race in Nashville, and that was way, way better.
Yeah, way better. It's I'm glad they're doing some more ovals. You know, the cars perform well on those tracks. They show well. Races are typically pretty good, and you know, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're getting to ovals as well. I think Las Vegas was going to be the start of them slowly returning to ovals, if I remember right.
Yeah, that's just some of those tracks are not, just because they're ovals doesn't mean that they're good racetracks for those cars, and you have to be a little bit careful, you know, what you put them on, and that, you know, just because, you know, like, point being, NASCAR and Indy cars are different animals altogether, and you just because a track is suitable for NASCAR doesn't mean that it would be okay for an IndyCar, and you know, and like you even like just look at our backyard here in Phoenix.
Yeah.
You know, PIR in its day, you know, many years ago, PIR was a great track for IndyCars. It was a special track for IndyCars. It sucked for NASCAR because it was too flat. Mm-hmm. It was horrible. So what did NASCAR do when they bought the place? Well, they banked it and they jacked it up and they made it a NASCAR track. Yeah. Well, now it sucks for IndyCars. You know, so it's now the question is, can you have one that's equally good for both? I don't know, maybe not, but that's not the point. The point is you need to sort of find places that will show off your car's capabilities.
Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please hit like and subscribe if you did so, and please continue supporting our amazing guest. And everybody, we'll see you next time on SFM.
Hi, this is Ted Warner speaking. While the checkered flag is waved for this program, stay tuned for next week for the next episode of SFM. Thanks to Doug Kenny for what he does for motorsports.